Hey there friends, Dave Paulides, Can-Am Missing Project. This is our executive producer of the show, Huck L. Berry. She's a good girl. He is a good girl. He is a good puppy. She says, Dad, scratch me please. He is a good girl. Oh, Dad's a good girl. Oh yeah. Yeah. Good girl. She is a Great Pyrenees. She's a great pup. And she protects us, which is what I need out here in the woods. Hey, remember our movie, American Missing 411 National Parks, Washington State, available on Amazon now. Please watch it. And we're going to talk to you about a case today and some current events. More importantly than anything, really, right now, if you're in a southern state, please pay attention. This coming weekend, this coming weekend, I will be in Ocala, Florida, O-C-A-L-A. I'm going to be doing a conference. Go to Gather Up, G-A-T-H-E-R-U-P, Gather Up Events. Google that. It'll show you where the location it is, how to get your tickets. It's a great lineup. Cliff Barackman, my buddy, will be there. And Scott Nelson, my buddy, one of my best buddies, will be there. Scott's presentation will knock your socks off. It's about Bigfoot. It's about his time at the Sierra camp with Ron Moorhead. And I was there with them 1 week, a couple years ago. Scott's an all-star, and his presentation will seriously knock your socks off. And then I'll be doing a presentation as well. So, hope to see you there. There's two ways you can join by doing the VIP package, and that is a special event Friday night that I will be at, and then the Saturday conference, or you can just go to the Saturday conference. Either way, it is going to be a blast. I hope I see you there. Now, we've been talking a lot, and I've been posting a lot on my X account at Can-Am Missing, David Paulides at Can-Am Missing. I've been posting a lot about what's been going on with grizzly bears attacking people. In the Cowboy State Daily, it's the biggest newspaper in Wyoming. It's a great paper. They put this out. California man says grizzly dragged him 30 feet in Glacier National Park attack. California hiker said that he surprised 2 grizzlies last month on a trail in Glacier. The larger bear bit through his arm and dragged him 30 feet. Quote, I did as you're told. I alerted the bear, he said, but the bear attacked him. California man said he was dragged 20 to 30 feet by a grizzly before it finally let him go in an attack he sustained late last month in Glacier. The report of the attack, which up until now has been scant on specifics, has turned vivid with Daniel Crago discussing the blow-by-blow of his bear encounter. Crago says he was on the last day of a hiking trip when he peeled away from a friend to take in some views. As I have stated, when you're in bear country, the chances of your being attacked goes down the more people you are with in your party. The magic number is 4. 4 people being attacked by a bear is extremely, extremely rare. 2 people it happens, 1 people it happens more often than ever. That's when he spotted a smaller grizzly. Then the worst thing happened. He spotted a larger grizzly. I did as you're told. I alerted the bear, he said, which was about 15 feet away. That did no good. At that point, I was so close, it likely frightened the bear, he said. As soon as it saw me, it charged down and attacked me. I threw up my arm. It bit my arm, dragged me 20 to 30 feet, and it took off. I could see my hand, and it was just dangling there, he told Fox 5 TV in San Diego. The National Park Service said park employees believed that the loud rushing water made it difficult for the hiker and the bears to detect each other. Calling the experience terrifying, Crago said it was fortunate in that a pediatrician was in the area who was able to stabilize the arm while another hiker made noises in an attempt to keep the bears from coming back. The bears did not return. Another hiker, he said, alerted emergency services and a helicopter airlifted him to a nearby hospital in Kalispell. He said, 3 surgeries so far and is expecting 1 more. I'm facing significant medical bills from the treatment and care I received. The costs are overwhelming and I'm reaching out for help. Retired ecologist Chuck Neal of Cody, Wyoming, who frequently hikes solo in grizzly country, told the Cowboy State Daily that hiking in Glacier Park demands extra alertness. Encounters can happen in just a few yards away. It's a high-quality habitat for bear. Crago is the latest of multiple bear encounters with humans in the region so far this season. I've stated this before, but when you're in bear country, you're in the wild because you want to see wildlife, but you don't want to see bears within 500 feet of you. You want to see them across the valley. That's where I want to see them. And the only way you can really protect yourself is to make a lot of noise. Now that a lot of noise also will send a lot of wildlife away and you won't see it. But that's really the safest way to move around in bear territory. I have an air horn that I carry in my hand. Every couple minutes, just boom, boom, lets the bears know somebody's coming. And a surprised bear is not a good bear. Crago says, I was up on a trail on May 6th and saw many grizzlies. He stated in a text message to the Cowboy State Daily. I warned hikers from California and Texas at the trailhead that there was an unusual number. But it didn't help him. On May 26th, a man running on a trail in British Columbia, Canada, was attacked by a female bear with 2 cubs. Outdoor adventurer Michael Hodges was photographing grizzlies in Glacier Park backcountry on the day that Paulides' body was discovered about 15 miles away. That was another hiker in Glacier that was killed by a bear. Later, he was on the same trail where the alleged May 28th bear attack was reported. I was up on the trail the week of May 6th and saw many grizzlies, he stated in a text. Really, what I am trying to do is to save people from harm and death. And that doesn't mean you don't go into those areas. You just go in with a big group of people. You go in with everybody armed with bear spray. You make a lot of noise. You do not wear headphones when you're in bear country or in the outdoors period, because mountain lions, you need to be aware. God gave you those senses, use them. Okay, now I've got a case for you that's discerning, upsetting. A man named Jason Cochran, Coughran, disappeared. 60 years old, went missing May 25th, 2026, just a recent disappearance. Last heard from him, 4 p.m. And I have told you this before, but what time do most hikers disappear? 4 p.m. He lived in downtown Sacramento, not married. The best I can tell, he never had kids. Now, I'm going to do a little history for you on him. In 1999, there was a big article in the Sacramento Bee of employees that had worked for the Bee for 10 years, 15, 20 years. And it stated that he was celebrating his 10th year anniversary in 1999 with the Sacramento Bee. Then I did more research and I found that he authored many articles in the Sacramento Bee as a reporter. And then I looked him up and he lists himself as a librarian with McClatchy newspapers and the Sacramento Bee. So he is their librarian. I'll explain more about that in a second. He's 6'2", 160, no children, when hiking in the Desolation Valley Wilderness in El Dorado County, southwest of Lake Tahoe. So when you're in Sacramento, there's two ways to get to Lake Tahoe. Go to the North Shore via Highway 80. Highway 80 is a big 4-lane highway that goes through the mountains. Highway 50, a little 2-lane highway that goes to South Shore Lake Tahoe. Now on May 25th at about 4 p.m., he had contact with a friend. The friend stated that he was an avid hiker. He liked to go out alone. He was in good shape. He was hiking near Fallen Leaf Lake and going towards Angora Peak. Fallen Leaf and going towards Angora Peak. Remember that. Now, Angora Peak sits next to Echo Peak, and Angora Peak has a height of 8,588 feet. So, this is South Lake Tahoe. This is Camp Richardson. This is the city of South Lake Tahoe right here. This is the road that goes around the lake. This is Fallen Leaf Lake. If you've never been there, it's absolutely stunningly gorgeous. There is a small number of homes in that area. You get to this by driving in off a small road, off of the road that loops the lake. Once you go in, there's a lot of forested area in here, a lot of woods. And then as you hike in a westerly direction, you come to Angora Peak. I fished this area many times. There's not a ton of people that visit this area, but there are some. And Angora Peak sits here. Easy hike through some wooded area. Now, the interesting part about this is in the Desolation Valley Wilderness area, out in this area, right in here, all of this direction is almost all granite. It's like Yosemite. It's all covered in granite. Very little ground cover. But this one area in here has a lot of trees. Kind of keep that in mind. So he was in a lot of woods. Now, Little Fallen Leaf Lake is right near there. Another beautiful spot. Jason had no other contact with his friends after May 25th at 4 p.m. They were expected to hear from him. They didn't. And they ended up calling law enforcement. El Dorado County Sheriffs get involved, and they start running a search and rescue. I've studied this area intensively. And when you look at it on a map, there's a lot of small lakes, ponds, etc., and tons of granite. And using that profile, you should have a lot of missing people in that area. And I can't explain it, but there aren't that many people missing in that area. It's someplace that I have gone hundreds of times. It's epically gorgeous. And even though Lake Tahoe has tens of thousands of people there, hundreds of thousands of people there every weekend, they don't travel into the wilderness area in great mass, which is good if you'd like to get away from people. Now, my folks had a cabin right on the edge of the wilderness, between the lake and the wilderness area, in a city called Tahoma. Tahoma is not that far from where he went missing. And if you walked from our cabin, you could be away from people in 20 minutes, going towards the wilderness area. And there was a trailhead there. We went out there all the time, went fishing. The area, the wilderness zone, is managed by the El Dorado National Forest and the Lake Tahoe Basin Management Unit. Now, on May 26th, SAR was put in motion, and right away, a late season winter event took place. Rain, snow, ice, very odd, but you got to expect that in that area. May 29th, 3 days later, they had already been putting 80 ground searchers in that area. And the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office used their own helicopter and flew searchers back further into the search zone. They had been asking for public health on anyone who had seen Jason in that area. California Office of Emergency Services was assisting. They were having great difficulty in finding where he was going. They kind of knew, but they kind of didn't. They thought he was going towards Angora Peak. They brought canines. They flew canines back into that area. They had issues. They just couldn't pick up a scent. Almost 200 searchers were assisting. It was a massive turnout for him. Air National Guard Chinook CH-47 came in on the 29th, flew searchers way back into the search area. And why is that beneficial? You want fresh legs way back there. You don't want people tired, exhausted when they finally get into the primary search zone. June 1st through the 3rd, another massive turnout. The numbers I saw were huge. They were covering a lot of area. No witnesses had been found that had seen him near those last days that they thought that he was in that zone, 26th, 27th. Nothing. On June 5th, the search was terminated with nothing being found. This is very bothersome. Bothersome more than most because he should have been found in this area. People that have been missing in that area are almost 99.99% always found. Now, the story is very, very odd. The Sacramento Bee never said that Jason was one of their employees. And they offered very limited coverage of the story, which is highly unusual. I know of other incidents where employees of newspapers went missing and they gave them front page press. They covered the story every day. Nah, that didn't happen here. And I'm puzzled. Very puzzled. I don't quite know what to make of it, but I printed out this map. So this is where our cabin was at, Tahoma. And the white is all granite, essentially. The blues are water. And this was the area that they were searching for him. Like I said, if you went in there, you could make really good time walking over the granite because there's not a lot of obstructions in those areas. Thought about this last night before I made this video, and I thought, this is very odd. So, I hope he walks out, but they didn't find him and the search is over. Now, a couple videos ago I talked to you about distances that children are found from the primary location where they were seen and the heights that small children achieve. Now, the question is, and I get asked this a lot, well, Dave, I have small kids and I've heard many stories from you about kids being right next to the adult and they turn around, they're gone. So my question is, should kids, small kids, when you're in the woods, be put on a leash? We really only have two choices here. You either keep those kids right in front of you the entire time you're out, don't get distracted, or you put them on a leash. Now, some people would say, oh, that's archaic, you're treating them like an animal, that you're not giving the kids free area to roam. Okay. I think maybe your mind would change if you lost your child in the woods. Just saying. Now, the search for Jason that we just talked about, that probably cost in excess of $50,000 to $100,000. It all depends on how much helicopter time they were using in there and how many deputies they used. That's a lot of money. And if you have a small jurisdiction, El Dorado County is not small. They have a lot of resources, but a small jurisdiction, that may wipe out their entire search and rescue budget for a year. So over the years, I've seen jurisdictions say this. Should we charge people for searching for them? People that go out into the woods, should they be charged for search and rescue services when they're found? Interesting question, eh? Why? Well, even if you made a mistake, there's ways to mitigate those mistakes. And if you didn't do it, should you be charged for those mistakes? Well, Dave, what do you mean? What could you do to mitigate being lost? Well, that's easy. There's GPS, handheld GPS that show trail on the GPS and where you're at, a GPS guide. There's also personal locator beacons I've talked to you about 1,000 times that you could carry, and if you're lost, you activate it and they come right to you. But then comes up another interesting question. Should a personal locator beacon be required before you enter the wilderness? Gee. What if it could be rented? Most phones nowadays have those built into the phones. Oh, they do. Yes, the new ones do. Most of them. Apple's phone does, I know for a fact. Then another question. You know where we've talked about these people that go into the woods where they're attacked by a bear? Should you be required to take a class in wilderness safety and survival before spending a night in the woods? I know that's been talked about. We have a lot of people that come to Montana that come from outside the country. Some of them can't even speak English. Oh, I've seen them there. They've been around me when I've been in Glacier all the time. And they come into the area to hike, and they have no idea that we have deadly predators out there. Should they be required to be educated before they come into the woods? What if they come into the woods and get lost? And there's a search and rescue for them that costs the park hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, we are very, very lucky here in the Flathead Valley. We have something really that nobody else has. We have an organization that's called Two Bear Air. And they are an extraction company with paramedics on board. They train all the time. They have the best helicopters. They will fly anywhere almost within, I think, 500 miles of Kalispell, Montana, if they get a call for service. And all of their calls for service go through the Flathead County Sheriff's Office. And it's all subsidized by a billionaire that we have that lives in Whitefish. And he is also a paramedic. And he wanted to do something for the community years ago, and he established this. Now, if a private helicopter goes out to find you in the woods, and they pick you up, and they take you to the hospital, you are going to pay for that. And if you're injured, you're not going to have a say in it because they're going to force you onto that helicopter because they're not carrying you out. Now, did you know that there's insurance for this? Oh, yes, there is. Now, should you be required to have that insurance before you go into the woods? I can tell you that if you're a person of few means, that helicopter ride and medical bills that Crago is experiencing now from his bear attack, they could ruin you for life. I mean, easily over $100, $150,000, $200,000, 3-4 surgeries, easy. If you don't have the insurance for that, it'll bankrupt you. I want to give you all of these parameters before summer really kicks in here. So you need to understand what you're going into. The other question comes in, and I get asked this a lot. Dave, should we expect search and rescue personnel to risk their lives working to find and save us if we're lost in the woods? It's an excellent question. Now, you do know that search and rescue personnel, they are volunteers. 99%. They volunteer their time to go out. They're people like you and me who have families at home. Should they be required to risk their lives to save somebody they don't know who made a mistake to get into a situation they're in? Years ago, I made this recommendation in front of several conferences, and people came up to me later and said, Dave, this should be done. I haven't talked about it in a while, but I'm going to tell you. The recommendation is that the U.S. Forest Service, the Bureau of Land Management, the National Park Service, they need to establish a special response search and rescue team, probably 50 members, and when a major critical incident happens, they're deployed by military aircraft into the area of the incident. Now, these 50 members could be all over the United States. A major critical incident. What is that? It's when somebody disappears and you don't find them in the first 24 hours, you deploy this team. Now, some missing person cases don't get a lot of press. Others get a lot of press. If it's a small child, it'll get lots of press. If it's a public person of notoriety, they'll get a lot of press. A major incident like that, this team needs to go. And why is that? Too many times in major cases, the lead ranger has little or no experience and huge mistakes are made. Just the facts. Sorry. And that isn't a diss on that ranger that's running the search and rescue. It's just a fact. There aren't that many major incidents in the United States every year. You can't have that experience. So, who pays the price for those mistakes? If you're the person out there in the woods, you're going to probably with your life. And these rangers are looking for promotion. They all are. That's why if you're a chief ranger at a national park, you're looking for your next promotion. And they're going to make decisions based on others' input that are not there. Politics gets in the way of search and rescue. Costs get in the way of deploying the best resources that are necessary. It's a fact. Helicopters cost $1,500 to $3,000 an hour. After a while, people are going to say, hey, that's enough. I've spent $50,000 on this one person. But when is really enough when a life is at stake? Training is the key to all success in the woods when you're looking for people. The unit I'm proposing would have the best canines trained in search and rescue. How do you get those best canines? The best canines? You train all the time. When I was in law enforcement, the canines we had trained every week, at least for 10 hours every week. Now, the private searchers out there that have dogs, you just don't train that much. You got to go to work. Also, you're not around the best training methods in the world, like professionals. These would be professionals. Now, this team would also have the best trackers in the world, trained by Native Americans. Who are the best trackers? Trackers meaning they look for the small little indentations in the ground, broken pieces of grass, etc. And the decisions that are made are entirely made by that team at the scene. The team would study the successes and the failures of other teams. How far have kids been found from the point last seen? How high have the kids been found from the point last seen? We need to start breaking down the barriers of those successes. Now, Dave, what do you mean by that? This is something that really burns me up. Oh, excuse me, pisses me off. Several years ago, 2 different people within a 6-month period of time contacted me. The National Park Service regional headquarters are in Denver. There's a big campus there. I've been there many times. Big campus. Some of those buildings nobody can go into. Why is that, Dave? Good question. This person who had worked there for the Park Service for 30 years was retiring this year. And one of her jobs was to bring mail to all the buildings. She went to this one building, and every day she'd knock on the door, this man would answer, and they had a great conversation. And over the years, she goes, "This is the last time I'm going to be here. I'm retiring. I wanted to say goodbye, and here's your mail." He goes, "You know what? You deserve something. Come on in." Brought her into a room, and it's the biggest TV screen on one wall she's ever seen. I mean, it's gigantic. It's the whole wall. He says, "Where's one national park in the U.S. that you've never been to that you always wish you could go to?" She names the name of the park. He goes, "Watch." Suddenly, from an aerial view, it's this national park. And he goes, let's go down to the visitor center. And he quickly hones in on the visitor center. She said you could read a license plate on the ground on the cars from this view. It was so clear. She said you could see people walking around. I'm thinking, what in the heck is going on here? If our government has access to technology like this, why in the heck aren't we using it to find missing people? Now, I heard this story from somebody extremely close to this lady. A month and a half later, I heard the same exact story. It was never made public. From another friend of hers who she told this to. So is it truth? Of course it's truth. They have it. Why aren't they using it? What's so secretive about this? It could definitely be used to help in finding missing people. There's no doubt in my mind. That satellite technology that we have, why aren't we using it? Now, if you remember, we had an airman disappear in Iran. His fighter crashed. He ran from the scene, hid up in the rocks up on the side of a mountain. And they used something that was called a heartbeat technology, something. They never made it really clear. But the technology could find a heartbeat within a region. And that's how they found this man. Well, question, if we have this technology to find our airmen, why aren't we using that technology to find missing people in the woods? Just a question. Please tell me why we're not. In the Dennis Martin case from Great Smoky Mountain National Park, Scott Carpenter and I, several years ago, went to Mr. Martin's house. It was the same exact house he lived in all the time since Dennis disappeared. He was an architect. It was a nice house. Scott and I went to the door. We knocked on the door. Mr. Martin came to the door. Still looked the same, tall, thin. I said, Mr. Martin, we're here to talk to you about your son Dennis. If you could give us a small amount of time, we have some questions for you. He was very polite, ultra polite. He said, guys, I made a promise to my wife that we would not discuss this ever again because it really has ruined our lives. So if you understand, please excuse me. I said, please, Mr. Martin, wait, just give me 1 minute here. I have traveled from California to talk to you, just to you. I doubt there's anyone on the face of this planet that knows more about that case than me. I've made it my job to know this. I have a file that thick on your son. If you could just give me a few minutes of your time, I just have a few critical questions. I'm that interested. He turns, he opens the door a little bit, he looks down the hallway. I could see his wife sitting at the end of the hallway. He goes, okay, I'll give you 5 minutes. He steps out on the front porch, closes the door, and he answers a series of questions. One of the things he told me, and Scott, is that the park superintendent was a figurehead at Great Smoky Mountain National Park at that time. He said somebody was making decisions in Washington, D.C., but not this person. Everything he did, he had to go get clearance to do. He said it was extremely frustrating. While he was talking to us, his eyes started to tear up. But he stood there and he answered all of our questions. Just recently, I talked to Scott's son about this exact day. And he goes, Dave, my dad came home and he talked to us about it. And he said it was the most touching moment of his life. He said you guys both went back to the car and had tears in your eyes. Hey, I'll admit, I was crying. I could feel this man's pain. I think we're getting dealt a bad hand here, folks. I think there's a lot more our government can do to find missing people. And for some reason, they don't want to do it. I don't know why. But I greatly appreciate you being here. Our website's missing411.com. DVDs of all of our movies, Blu-ray, books. Please visit, take a look. A lot of resources on our site. And we have 900 plus videos right here on our channel. Here's the screen. On the bottom left is the little Can-Am Missing logo. If you touch that, you'll get to all 900 of our videos. Always watch the video and then read the #1 pinned comment on each video. I'll leave a message there and I'll leave some videos that you need to watch. Be safe. Be kind. Kindness is key in life. Paulides out.